I'll tell you exactly what inspired this recipe. You know, sometimes you actually have the same waakye that you enjoy, and you just taste that waakye and the flavor alone is just like, wow. You don't even want to add it to anything else. You just enjoy it on its own. So that's what inspired this. My name is Fafa Gilbert and welcome to my creative African cooking channel, Ndudu by Fafa, and today I have got something so special. Okay, I think I'm obsessed with waakye. Now waakye is rice and beans, yes, but it's not just any other rice and beans, so this one in particular, hey, flavors. And I remember I served this during the Christmas festivities. It went down the treat. Everyone was like, we've never thought about creating a recipe like this. I'm like, of course, that's what Ndudu by Fafa is about. You know what I mean? And bear in mind, all these dishes as well, the flavors you are actually used to and accustomed to, is nothing so out of the ordinary. It's just enhanced. It's just better. It's great. So I do, yes, definitely, you do need to try these recipes. And I love reading your feedback, you know, where you guys have become some secret chefs because just say you're doing your own thing and improving your cooking skills. Like, yeah, absolutely. That's what this channel is about. It's a movement, you know. In the spirit of all things flavors, infusions, and Ndudu by Fafa, right, you would have to have watched my previous video about how to create 3 different flavors using 3 different spices, and I covered how I marinated my lamb shanks in this beautiful cumin spice mix. I'd leave a link at the top and you can refresh your memory. It's a must watch. So this is my pre-marinated lamb shank, as I mentioned earlier, and I froze it, took it out on the day that I needed it, preheated my oven to 180 degrees, slow cooked it and baked it till it was nice and beautiful and it came off the bone, as you can see. So this is what's gonna be like my stock, and it's gonna infuse this waakye. I told you, this is not any other food. This is Ndudu by Fafa. The whole point of this recipe is just like, you know, you can just enjoy the waakye on its own without adding any stew or anything. But of course I did add some stew. I use a beef stew as well. So anyway, let's start. So infusion number 1, I'm going to melt my cold pressed organic coconut oil, and that's just going to give this dish an incredible flavor. Now to that, I'm going to add my onions that I've sliced, and it's going to add the sweetness to this dish. You see, I'm building upon the flavors already. And if you notice, I'm yet again cooking on a medium to low heat because the best infusion is and I've actually sliced 1 whole habanero chili for that aromatic taste and for that residual heat that will permeate through this. It's just incredible. Now, one thing I've noticed is when you go to the supermarket and you buy the habanero chilies, they're not as spicy as ever. So when you do go to independent grocers, yeah, they do have, like, you know, the pungent one, like really good spicy one, and it's aromatic. So definitely you should try to visit your local grocers. They definitely would help. Now I'm adding my slow roasted lamb shanks, as you see, and I've shredded that. So you can see where this is going. I've built upon the infusion. You've got the coconut oil, you've got the onion that's going to add its sweetness, you've got the habanero chili as well that's going to add that residual heat and that aromatic flavor already. You see, and I'm just going to warm this through and allow the marriage of flavors to take place. Dun, 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 dun. Next step is me including my soaked beans. So I've got my black eye beans and I soaked it for about 2 hours in warm water, and it plumps up and it cuts the cooking time in half as well. So this is how beautiful this is. And I'm going to be mixing this together. So this is an infusion as well, because the coconut oil, the lamb shanks with the infusion of the cumin spice mix, as well as the habanero chili and onions are all just going to infuse. Oh, our way they are so.
I mean, I looked at it when I was making this. I was like, oh, I can actually just turn this into a lovely bean soup, really and truly. Yeah, why not? This is how recipes are created, and I think that we have various ingredients across the continents that we can create or recreate new recipes each time without a doubt. You know, in the absence of lamb, you can use your goat meat. You can go for a pescatarian one. Add a little bit of your Kobe, add your fish. But of course, if you're going to be using your fresh fish, then you'd have to add it just almost at the end, just so that it doesn't break too much into it. But equally, you know, the choice is yours. Now, at this point, you can choose to add your vegetable stock, your meat or beef stock, whatever stock you prefer, or simply just use water as I did here. And you can just see this infusion. Now, I have made this, I think I've doubled the amount here because I'm going to preserve and half of it for another recipe. You see, absolutely. I'm going to gently boil this for about 35 minutes to allow the infusion to take place, yet again on that medium heat. And it's just going to be nice. But now I'm going to add the bones as well because there's also flavor in there. You know, I'm not leaving anything out. This is like naturally flavored, enhanced dish. You see, there's nothing artificial about this. You would taste the beans, you would taste the lamb, you taste every ingredient that's actually been infused into this dish. Exactly that. And if you look at the color, you could just see that infusion taking place because you can see it's getting darker and darker there. Mwah. Now, before I cover this and allow this to simmer, I'm adding my sprig of fresh rosemary. Now, I do have this in my garden, so that helps a lot. And that's just going to infuse this aromatic flavor into the dish.
I'm so into flavors and I'm so into textures, and you know, anytime I eat or I grab whatever it is that I'm eating, I like to savor the flavors and everything that's been infused into it. So I was like, why don't I do this to my waakye? Because waakye is my favorite thing, you know. Yeah, so here we have it. I hope you do enjoy it.
After 15 minutes, I just wanted to check how the infusion was taking place. And I love how the beans are just stand on its own and it's plumped up. It's just beautiful. You can see it's just packed and filled with flavors. You notice I've not added salt yet. Whenever I'm cooking my beans, salt is the last thing I add to it because if I do add the salt to it, it increases the cooking time further. So I choose to add my salt much later. So yeah, this is just simmering just beautifully and infusing as it goes along. So 20 minutes into your cooking time, you have to remove the bones because they have served their purpose. They've infused their flavors into your mixture, including the stalk of your rosemary. Absolutely. Now, once you remove that, what I'm going to do is divide this mixture in two. But of course, I'm going to add my salt to taste. Now, when the beans is actually cooking, what you need to do is soak your rice. This is actually a way for you to cut your cooking time in half. When you soak your rice in a slight lukewarm water, it plumps the rice up and it means that you use less water and it cuts your cooking time in half. Now I am going to reserve half of this and I'll be using that for another recipe. As mentioned earlier, I have reserved a portion for another recipe. At this point, I'm adding my salt to taste because the perfect time for me to do so. Now, the amount of salt one uses is up to your own personal preference. But for the amount of this, 1 teaspoonful is more than enough. So now I'm adding my soaked rice, which is plumped up as well, which means that it's going to cut my cooking time in half. And this is where I'm going to be mixing everything together till it's well combined, as I always say. So at this point, I'm going to add my coconut milk. Now, what I have done is I've got this Biona organic coconut milk that I froze. So what that meant was the coconut milk settled at the top and the excess water ended up at the bottom. So that allowed me to scoop the milk. As you can see here, it's just much easier. So yeah, that's all I need, because of course I've soaked the beans is cooked, the rice is also soaked. So all I just did is just enough moisture to allow the infusion to take place. So you can see what this flavor is going to be like. It's going to be coconutty. You're going to have that aromatic spicy taste from the habanero chili, that lovely sweetness from the onions. Absolutely, what's that flavor? Straight. And you've got the lamb as well, which is adding its own shenanigans to this beauty. Look how creamy and nice this is. I mean, this recipe is to encourage you, you can eat this on its own. Just like that. You add a little bit of chateau, or you can add any sauce that you choose, or you can just have it on its own. It's a perfect base for you to use for your salad as well. It's something that I hope that you can think outside the box and, incorporate more stuff to it if you wish to do so. Now, all these ingredients should be readily available to you, absolutely. And I can't see why you wouldn't try this recipe. It's a definite must try. Now, at this point, I'm going to slow cook this to allow this to come to the boil. Once it comes to the boil, I'm going to use my grease-proof paper to then trap the steam in. And at that point, I'm going to lower the heat to the lowest setting, because I'm just going to use that residual heat to cook this through. Because, the rice is already soaked, so it won't take that long to cook. The beans is already cooked, and you end up with this beauty. Look at this. Look at that. It's just so nice. Now, if you want it to be like really, really soft, at the point that when you're boiling your beans, you can add your bicarbonate of soda. That would make it like really soft. But I like it like this because, of course, I'll be using this to make my stir fry, to incorporate into other, dishes as well. So, yeah. So after about 15 minutes to 20 minutes on that low heat, that residual heat, with you using your greaseproof paper to trap in the steam, your rice is cooked. Rice and beans? Yes. Waakye, yes. Would they call this a designer waakye? I would. Absolutely. Why not? So to serve this, I've used my scented gari sprinkles, as I always say. So it's gari that I've mixed with a bit of coconut oil, some chili flakes, and spring onions that I've mixed together with a little bit of water. So that goes around the surroundings of it. Then I've used my little cut in the middle to just shape that, waakye, the designer waakye in the middle there. And I've added my beef stew. So the beef stew recipe, I'll leave a link at the top so you can emulate that. It's packed with natural flavors. And that's exactly what I served it with. Now, when I say this is not any other food, I wasn't kidding. Now, this is definitely a must try.
But I did say that before with all my previous waakye recipes. Best, 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 best. Okay, this is the ultimate flavor-packed one. I'll tell you why. It's one that you can actually enjoy on its own with, no fuss. It's that good, that it's flavor-packed, that you can just enjoy it, just like that. Why? I don't know. Now, if this is your first time, thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate that a lot. Don't forget to click the subscribe button, and I hope I've given you a reason to click the subscribe button and the notification button, which means that each time I do upload a video, you're notified of it, and most importantly, it's delivered to your email address. Yes, no wahala, as I always say. Anyway, to my loyal subscribers, notification gang, guys, you guys rock. I love you guys. You guys are great. Without you, what would I be doing? Exactly. So definitely thank you for the support, the love. Me love you too. Me appreciate you guys. Absolutely.
I'll be leaving the list of ingredients and measurements on my blog in ndudu.fafa.blogspot.com. Do check it out. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat as Ndudu by Fafa. Do pass by and say hi. Until next time, take care of you. Be nice, be beautiful, and guess what? I love you for you.